Hey everyone, this is the LEGO Star Wars Pasaana Speeder Chase set for The Rise of Skywalker. In this video, I'm going to go over everything that you see here pretty quickly, and then for the folks who want longer form content and want more details, I'll do a deeper dive into things that I particularly like and dislike, and also answer some viewer questions from before. This so-called transport speeder from the planet Pasaana is unnamed as of the time of the recording of this video. It looks very much, for sure, like a Tatooine desert skiff. I'm sure it works very similar to that. The control for it is in the center with what looks like an outboard motor control. We saw something similar to this in the first full trailer for The Rise of Skywalker. It was being piloted by Poe Dameron, and it wasn't exactly the same as this because there was a power control towards the front, and this was just used for steering. But you can imagine this has the power control built into it, and that is how you make this thing go and all. It's a repulsor lift craft, so it's able to hover at all times, but not fully fly. Because it's supposed to be hovering, they've got clear pieces on the base to hold it up off from a surface, so it always looks like it's up a bit. That works out pretty well. I think that the stickers on this really add a lot to it. Sometimes people really hate stickers, but I think that these are an asset this time around, adding a lot of texture. There aren't too many of them, just in very key places. And I think that they make sense and add to this. I like the color scheme for it. It might be brighter than what we end up seeing in the movie. That remains to be seen, but this all went together in a pretty straightforward manner. There's plenty of room to pose figures in different places, doing different things around this. Some spots that have bars where you can hold on. So you could grab a figure onto this, one up here, add back here, back here. You could grab onto the back a little bit. Just a lot of potential here, I think, for imaginative play and hands-on play as well. You have somebody hanging onto the edge over here. I mean, it's pretty much what you see is what you get. You know, there's not a whole lot to really talk about here beyond its own appearance. But what you do see, I think, personally, is at least done well for what it is. This just has a single stud shooter over here on the side, and that's the one real function. Other than that, you can rotate this, it doesn't do anything, and hold it, grab it, fly it around close to the ground, not too far because it doesn't fly up in the air, and yeah, enjoy it. This is a first order tread speeder. It's a brand new thing for The Rise of Skywalker, and interestingly, it too is a repulsor lift vehicle. However, it does rely on traction to make it go. So it has a repulsor lift system in it that holds up much of its weight, which is why you only see a tread at the front and no wheel at the back or anything. I believe that LEGO should have made the whole thing just a little bit higher in the back. The entire rear section should have been higher, per what we've seen of the actual builds for this thing for the movie, the full-sized models. But basically all of this back here is being held up in the air by a repulsor lift, and then it's getting traction from the tread at the front, which LEGO has done pretty properly, and it is able to roll. It's not too stiff to actually roll around. And the idea there is that if you're going over rough terrain, it can be a waste to rely on repulsor lift technology exclusively, especially if you're going up hills and down hills. You need to use a tremendous amount of energy, whereas having actual traction, actual contact with the surface that you're on can be much more efficient and allow you to stay in one place without having a tremendous amount of energy expended and all. So yeah, it's a different concept. I'm not sure if I personally like the concept, but I think LEGO has done a pretty decent job here, with the exception of, again, the fact that the rear should be up higher. Also had a little bit of trouble getting this to pose just right. There we go. That's a little bit better. So things are lined up nicely. You can put a second person back here. That's a good thing. You can put a second trooper back there, and they do have a second trooper in the set, so this would be a good place for him to go as a passenger. There's no special feature with this, no transformative feature or anything. You can pull this up, pretend that you're doing some work under there, under the fender, but for the most part, it's what you see is what you get. Once again, a couple of stud shooters, one on either side. That's pretty much all there is to this one. I'm glad, so glad, that it is able to roll smoothly. A lot of time, treaded toys have trouble with that, where they're too stiff and then they just want to slide over a surface, and it's just kind of annoying. The final proper build in this set looks like just a bit of a market stall. So you can imagine there being a lot more of these around of different shapes and sizes in a large area with a lot of people around. But this is just a tiny, small, just a side build, just something to give you a little bit of terrain, a little bit of, well, not so much terrain, but a little bit of structure just off to the side to establish the place where you are. And I think it looks pretty good for what it is. It has a nice shape to it, not the most basic rectangular configuration. You got little binoculars over there. This is just something where you can put extra studs for your stud shooters, any spare small pieces. And then there are just some tools and or weapons. I mean, that could be used as a tool or a weapon. There's just a grappling hook here and then just a shovel. So, some random basic normal stuff. The main figure here is Rey, who has completed her Gandalf-style progression from gray to white-robed wielder of magic. The print is looking pretty good with one exception. On the legs, the flesh tone there is not looking very proper. It was not completely opaque. I mean, that's supposed to be a solid color, so that's a little bit weird. But beyond that, I think everything else is done pretty well. This has the first that I've seen, that I've personally seen and owned, new lightsaber material. So it's got the new type of material that Lego is now using for their transparent parts. And this is not completely transparent. It is actually translucent. So it's a little bit frosted on the outside, which I actually think is a super cool effect. It's different if you are always expecting what they've always done up to this point, crystal clear, truly transparent, then this can be off-putting, or at least it can look very strange and wrong. But on its own, I think that's a really cool effect. I think that it has more of a glowing type of appearance than the truly crystal clear style that they've used up to this point. Also, it looks like it's very consistent with no bubbles in there. There's the alternate face for Rey, and let's move on. For bad guys, we get these two, and the one on the left is not simply another First Order Stormtrooper. He is specifically a First Order tread speeder driver with a unique torso print. The one on the right also has a unique torso print, and the hips and legs match for him, but he also has a brand new mold for the helmet, which has a lot of detail around the breathing element section of it. That is a First Order jet trooper. Kind of like a rocket trooper, jump trooper. He has a brand new mold for his backpack element. That's his jet pack. That has a lot of detail on it. And it does actually have a second piece. So right there in the center, that's a 1x1 tile that is a print that you actually insert in there. It's a separate little thing that you add on. So that looks pretty good. It has a nice amount of detail and works out pretty well. Underneath the helmets, as usual, no surprise here. I was just use the same clone head that they've done the whole time, well, for way too long now. And there's actually some pretty significant and finely detailed print on the back of the jet trooper's torso that most of the time you're just not able to take advantage of and appreciate. Lastly, the set comes with a BB-8, and this one has remained the same since the very first time they introduced it for The Force Awakens. There's no need to change it. The character has not changed in universe, and I think that this LEGO representation is very good. Here are the spare pieces for this set, including some extra stud shooter stud ammo pieces, and one extra 1x1 tile that's used for the Jet Troopers pack. The suggested retail price for this set is $40 US, which feels like definitely too much to me. But the good news is that on release day, Triple Force Friday, this was already selling at a discount at major retailers. Amazon has it as of the time of the recording of this video for $32, which feels okay. Not a great deal, but definitely not a ripoff. 40 definitely feels like too much. 45, I notice, in the UK, 45 pounds is way too much. I hope that they get steep discounts, because you should never see the number for pounds being higher than the number for US dollars. And that's just not okay at all. Overall, I think the set is it's okay. The highlight for me is definitely the Jet Trooper, and the rest is just fine. Nothing here is a must buy. Although the the hero main Rey figure. It's definitely a good one to get for the series, and hopefully they will make her available in other sets as well. To elaborate a little bit more on the desirability of this set and whether I personally would recommend it, I would say that if you are on the fence about it, if there's nothing here that really draws you to it, then at least wait until the movie comes out to see if the Tread Speeder and this thing will be memorable at all. You know, like at least as memorable as the Return of the Jedi, you know, desert skiff thing. You know, at least that had an important scene. If it ends up that both of these things, these major builds here, are involved for just a tiny amount of time, then I really don't feel like it's going to be worth it if you're on the fence. And like I said, I really hope and certainly expect to see Rey available in some other sets in the future. You know, Rise of Skywalker version of her, or versions of her in the future. So yeah, definitely I wouldn't recommend that you jump on this one or feel like you have to jump on this one just because it exists, unless you really feel like the whole thing is worth it to you. Actually, there was one viewer in particular on my preview that asked, oh yeah, it's JD Singh 4, I've got the list over here to my side, asked, is this speeder set worth it for just the figures? And I'm going to have to say solidly no. Rey's the most important thing here. The Jet Trooper is the most interesting thing here out of the figures to me personally. And I'm pretty sure that they're going to have her in other things. The Tread Speeder driver, it's not that much different from just a regular First Order Stormtrooper. And this guy is definitely not worth it. It's not worth even spending a discounted amount for this entire set. If you just want the figures, just wait for them to be parted out at a reasonable price on eBay or on Bricklink and just get them that way. I think it's going to be much more worth it. Also, speaking about the figures, I've got a comment here from Tomtastic, who asked specifically what my opinion is on the reuse of the Rey head, which was introduced in 2015. That was quite a long time ago, wasn't it? And they just continue using the same head, the same two faces that are only slightly different. Let me actually bring up for you a couple of previous robed versions of Rey. And look at that. This also lets you see the difference in lightsabers. Notice that the light blue color, the translight blue color, is actually changed in hue, not just the surface texture. It has become less green or more of a true blue. But here, I mean, they're clearly using the Tolkien wizard scale, you know, going from brown to gray to white. And the robes are almost exactly the same, you know, just how that, the style is the same, how the belt hangs is the same and everything. And yes, they're using the same face across all of them. It went back to the original hairpiece there. That's fine. I think it makes sense. I think everything here looks proper to me. The thing is, Daisy Ridley's face doesn't have that much variety in different expressions that are used in this series. She has a very bright and large smile, but that doesn't really get used much in this series because happiness is not a major theme in the Star Wars sequel trilogy, right? You know, because of the whole First Order thing. You know, it's kind of bad. It's pretty dark times, and you know, Rey's going through a lot of personal struggles as well. So from her most angry to her most apathetic appearances, or most normal even, there's not a lot of variety in how her face looks from a distance. There's a lot of subtlety though, and you know, there's definitely a lot of skill that the actress brings to the screen, to the big screen. But as a Lego figure, I really don't feel like they need to make significantly different versions of her. Hopefully there will be some major events in Rise of Skywalker that will necessitate a new head, possibly something with a really angry face. Could be useful, as opposed to just this one, which is just almost like annoyed. You know, it's serious to annoyed, but not properly angry. It would be good to have reason to bring in a new face for her in Lego form. But so far, I feel like that reason has not existed. There's a viewer with the username Daniel McBride, and I don't know if that's his real name. If it is, that's cool. If it's not, that's cool too. But he asks, will you compare the tread speeder driver to a normal first order trooper? Yes. Right there. So these are comparing apples to apples with the Last Jedi version, but we did have the Force Awakens version previously, which had the different type of smile. It actually looked a little bit more like a smile, less like a frown. That's why they specifically changed that. Just the second crew for the second movie in the sequel trilogy was not happy with the look. And I agree with the change that they made, because this just looked too silly. It was too clown-like. I don't know if the Lego one is perfect with that design, but that's not what we're here to talk about. It's more about the actual outfit, which is the torso, hip, and leg combination of everything. You can see that this has new versions of all of the above, and yeah, it's a subtle difference. It's like a variant, a subtle variant at that. I feel like they didn't even need to do it, to be honest with you. But there you go. You want to see it? Now you have. One more viewer question about figures. Iwanek asks, do you think it's kind of ridiculous to spread the main characters across all the sets? Because in order to get them all, you need to buy the whole wave. Well, yes and no. First of all, I understand why that is done. The primary reason that is done is for the sake of profit. And I am not afraid of that concept. I'm an adult who pays bills. I understand the concept of working hard and smart to create revenue to be able to pay the bills and possibly to have something left over. So it's just a general idea of spreading things out in order to motivate people to buy more sets. If you put all of the good figures, all the most desirable figures into one set, then people who are primarily interested in figures are just going to buy that one set. They're not going to have any chance of buying anything else because they're not interested in anything else. So definitely profits are part of the picture there. You can call it greed if you want. You can look at it from the most evil possible perspective if that's your desire. But there's also the much more innocent perspective of people wanting to work and work smartly to pay their bills. But that's really the main thing that it comes down to. I don't like it in general, especially when it comes down to just as a fan, as a consumer. I don't like that happens, that is a fact of life, especially when it comes down to desirable figures being put in the most expensive sets. That's the worst. Something like this, $30-something, even if it was 40, 40 is a lot to put something exclusive in. But when you get to $100 and up, and you put a really desirable figure that had a major impact or a major role in a TV show or movie or whatever, and only that figure is only available in that set, that hurts. And I feel like that, it hurts my soul. I don't like it. And that's where I personally start to feel more like, ugh, corporate greed, boo, boo, So it's partially a matter of perspective, partially a matter of how bad it is in desirability versus costs, but ultimately it is all about profits, which is not 100% a bad thing. And now for one final question from the preview video where I was previewing this set and a couple others and asking for viewer input. The Channel Fire asks, is it annoying for you to make a whole separate video about asking questions, and is this question annoying? The answer is no and no. It wasn't annoying at all, actually, just being perfectly honest and serious about it. It's not annoying at all for me to do the preview videos because I really like this setup of getting questions in advance from viewers and being able to directly answer them in context with the videos rather than doing it piecemeal afterwards and not being able to respond to all comments. I'm able to do a lot more for a lot more people this way, and it doesn't really cost me any major extra time, a little bit of extra effort, but it's not that much and it's absolutely worth it. And the question is not annoying because it's a fair question, actually. Check out one of the build videos for this, either the real-time pure build or the speed build if you like. I will link to both of them in the end screen, which is right now. And I'll talk to you again soon.